Welcome. This is a very special edition of the Everyday Game Changers, man. I'm the host, Barion McQueen, man. We talking to everyday people in business, community, music artists, no matter what you do, entrepreneurs, man. And this gonna be an easy conversation, man. We can act like these videos ain't even rolling. This is my best friend in the world. Next to my wife, she better not hear that and be like, "Oh, it's just Eddie," right? So, um, I know him by E. Luke. Some of y'all might know him as Ed Lucus. If you old, you know him as Eddie.
Yeah, and
Old
more recent, people call me E.
E.
Um,
Luke,
everybody is Luke.
Big
Some
Swole, Security. He done had many names, but man, Edwin Lucas, please introduce yourself.
well, really quickly, as you already said, Ed Lucas. I'm a man of many hats. Um, I'm a realtor, property manager. Um, I do a lot of different endeavors. I mean, when we talk about music, I sing. I mean, just many hats, man. And I mean, it's a pleasure to be on the show and kind of discuss whatever we're going to discuss.
Man. So, like, really, with the Everyday Game Changers, I really wanted to. It wasn't really about like me just like talking to celebrities. Like, I really want to talk to. I'm sure I'm gonna probably have some celebrity guests just from the relationship with hip hop those and stuff when it comes to like music artists. But I really wanted to talk about people that's really, I want to say like boots on the ground, but like really every day, like whether they doing community, like I see the three helmets in the back, they don't even know about the bike to the bay and all the things that you're doing in the community. So I want to touch on a little bit of all of that. But from a real estate perspective, like I think this is so intriguing because it's a lot of realtors that follow me
Hmm.
and they just realtors, right? So talk to us a little bit of like how you balance being a realtor, being a property manager, doing property preservation, managing units. Like how do you balance all of that? And then you got two boys and a wife. So like how you
Yeah,
balance all of that?
and two dogs. But it's a great question. So it's funny. I've been in real estate now going on 18 years, right?
Mm,
So when I started out because of my mother. So she got into the whole property management situation. She started buying her own properties, and I find that a lot of times I um, followed her lead. So it got me into starting with property management and learning the different laws and what you can and can't do, and some of them by learning the hard way. So over time, one of the things that I did is I kind of got engulfed in a lot of the things that she was doing, and I found interest in it myself. People say if you're going to do something, you should love what you do. And so I started to learn different aspects in customer service and a lot of stuff. And the customer service aspect is really what drove me to become a realtor, to be honest with you. Property preservation, it was just an opportunity to learn another tool for me, because I've always been that type of person that I don't like it if I have a glass ceiling over my head. I wanted to make sure that if I wanted to continue to rise, there was nothing that would be able to stop me when it came to, anything real estate. So property preservation, learning what banks do, learning about foreclosures, learning about how you gotta winterize pipes. Like you just learn all aspects, and not just learning from, okay, this is what property preservation is, actually going out there and doing the work, you know, going out there and replacing a window or boarding something up, or learning how, what PSI you got to put in a pipe and how long you got to hold it. There's a lot of different aspects. And I learned that in Northern Delaware. I learned it in Delaware, Maryland, PA.
I've
And
been to
then
one of them houses lifting a cast. He tell you if you never lift a cast iron heater,
yeah, that thing was 900 pounds.
man, that's probably why I got back problems now. But yeah, like and I think that's the dope thing. So like when we talk about like your role as far as like managing units or managing different properties, like I always want to get a perspective from somebody that's in a management perspective about how they handle employees, right?
Mhm.
What do you look for when you're going to hire an employee?
Well, I'm gonna answer that question, but one of the things that you had said was, how do I balance everything?
Correct.
And it, the biggest to answer that question is you have to be able to multitask and prioritize what is most important. Um, and family always comes first. That's my boys are my world, and I love my wife, and I try to make sure that they always know that they're in the forefront. They're what is kind of what makes me work so hard. But it's more or less multitasking and being attached to your calendar, learning how to make sure you know what A to B to what time needs to be here, and truly being a master of juggling. But to your next point, what I look for when I hire an employee is, to be honest, I look for somebody that's coachable. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like so many times people look at situations, and everybody, like when you ask somebody what's your weakness, everybody's going to do a weakness that they feel like is a positive. But at the same time, everybody wants somebody that's on time, that's dependable, that's a hard worker. And I even tell people that that's a generic answer to me. I look for somebody that's coachable, because if you can't take constructive criticism and try to mold yourself, it's like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? If you tell me that, oh, okay, I see yourself in that seat, what are you going to do to set yourself apart from others to be in this seat?
Right.
And I feel like that just kind of is a general statement in any line of business, is if you want to go somewhere, you want to do something, what will you do to get there?
So let me ask you something. Would you say 90% of people lie on their resume?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And the problem is that, I mean, not to my own horn, right? But I dig when I interview, and I want people to be, comfortable. So I'm engaging. I want to make you laugh. I don't want to just be a drill sergeant. So when I start off, I ask you to tell me about yourself. Everybody's gonna be like, well, I'm this. They try to give you the business aspect. Okay, well, tell me something that you do that has nothing to do with work. You know what I
Right.
mean? And I'll literally put you on spot. So are you nervous?
Right.
Oh yeah, a little bit. Oh well, tell me about that. Why are you nervous? I just don't know where this is going to go. I'm like, yeah. Well, so I try to warm them up to it. I want somebody to give me where they are. One of the things that I hate, that I feel like a lot of people don't realize, is that everybody has a honeymoon phase, right? And my thing is, if I hire you, I want the same person on day one that I'm gonna get on day 100. I don't want the person to change up. So if you come in with that energy on day one, to where you're unstoppable, you're punctual, you're a go-getter. One of my biggest pet peeves is follow up. So beat me before I beat you. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. If you come in on fire on day 100, please have that same flame.
Right. That's dope. These is tips for y'all people out there looking for a job. Uh, but everybody probably won't be an interviewer like him. That's a fact. I can guarantee that. So whoever worked for him, kudos to y'all that passed the test. Hopefully you passed the 100-day test after you passed the first day test.
Well, see,
So
but you know what? To that point, the greatest thing I feel about a manager, right? And another thing that I feel like, I don't feel like I'm better than anybody, but I definitely feel like I'm different, right? I feel like if you're gonna be a good manager, if you're a coaching manager, truly coach your people how to be better.
right.
Because if you can get somebody to respect you and value you, they'll do anything for you.
Nah, that's dope. So like talk to me about like how many units is you up to as far as manager now?
So I manage 439 units right now. Um, so I'm only at one site, um, but it's a lease up. So with it being a lease up, we purchased the property in May of 2019. We're renovating every single unit. We're renovating every corridor. We've redone the clubhouse. We've truly, is a phone call for real estate that just popped up. So, um, but right now I manage 439 units.
That's dope. And you've been in that for like just as long as you've been doing real estate, right?
Well, I started with property management first.
Right.
So it was property management, then it was preservation, then I became a realtor. So right now, I've been a realtor for 9 years. So I think being in the property management field has been roughly around 18. So half of that I've been a realtor.
So what's your like? So here in South Florida, the real estate market is crazy. Like,
Oh, it's crazy here too.
yeah. So that's why I wanted to give a little perspective. Like, so with real estate capture, I'm in these houses shooting houses all day long, right? The average time from the time that I send pictures to a realtor by the time it's sold is 10 days.
Mhm.
So like what's the market up north like as
Well,
far as real estate?
we're still very much in the seller's market, you
Okay.
know. So, and for people that don't know what that means, because so many times people hear different terms and they just generally don't have an understanding of what it means. So it's all based off of supply and demand, right? So when we say a seller's market, that means your average seller's home is selling within the third showing, right? If somebody walks into your house within the first 7 seconds, they know whether or not they like your house. So with it being the case of a seller is getting what they're asking for right now because of supply and demand. There are this many houses, but there are this many buyers, right? So it promotes competition. So right now it's best for sellers, and that's the pandemic has definitely put it in a certain type of way because the people that are sitting home on couches, you got it's just right now. Now, granted, it's starting to slowly die down, but
Okay.
rates are still at a phenomenal low, and it's definitely a time to buy. However, you have to have the expectation that you're gonna pay for it.
Mm. Yeah, that's what I'm seeing. Like we shot a house last week of a lady, but I shot this house a year ago when she bought it from the realtor, right? So I asked her, I said, "Hey, I actually shot this house before you bought it. Like I still have the pictures." I'm like, "Why are you selling? It's like they just remodeled this house like 8 months ago." And she's like, "Oh, I just want to put it up and see what I'm gonna get."
But you know what? It's crazy. I have a couple of buyers. So this one buyer, right? This house was listed at $450,000, somewhere around that ballpark. And and when you start to get to that type of a price range or a price bracket, you have less buyers that can afford those types of houses.
Right.
However, in this market, that house had over 10 offers
Mm.
all at the same time. And they offered over $50,000 over asking price.
My
And they
goodness.
came in third.
Wow. Wow.
And I mean, I tell you what, one of the things that this has taught me is how many people also have access to cash.
And
Like,
that's what I'm tripped off about. I'm like, is we not in the pandemic no more? Because people can just buy new houses. Like the market is booming.
and they
Doing
buying them cash. No,
cash.
and because of the competition in the seller's market, they're buying them cash, no contingencies. They
Crazy.
don't have to worry, and they try and close quick. One house, just for individuals that don't know, one dude bought a stucco house, got the stucco report, which reported damage, and he still offered over asking, and it was over a $500,000 house. So, I mean, people are just right now, they're trying to take advantage of the rates. People are trying to take advantage of, you have those individuals, like you said, that they want to see what they can get.
Yeah, like I think that when she bought that house, I think she bought that house for 5, bro. She
Yeah.
she she trying to list for
And
seven hundred thousand.
but you know what? One of the things I gotta tell people is for buyers, man. Like I'm working with a couple of different buyers, and because of this type of market and the competition that it posts and stuff like that, they're getting discouraged because they're like, okay, well, I'm trying to buy a house and there's nothing available,
Right.
or every time that I've put in an offer, I'm not winning.
Yeah.
Well, you know, sometimes you just gotta stick with it, and the right house will come to you. It's just that so many people are getting discouraged, and they'll be like, you know what, I ain't even gonna buy a house. Let's look at a boat.
Yeah. Nah, that's a fact, man. Actually, when I went to buy my house, like my price point that I was in, I want to say that my price point was a low price point, but it was a price point that where my competition was investors.
Right.
So every time I put in something, my price point was so low that it was just like, yo, the investor could come in and pay cash, and they don't want to even talk about my little conventional loan. Like,
Yeah,
so it's
but
rough.
you know what? And that's the only thing. That's the only good thing about certain banks, right? So when you talk about preservation, there's a lot of times when they're selling homes to where they won't allow an investor to put in an offer for a certain time period, which is usually around 20 days, because they want to shoot for owner occupants. But you got so many people that, again, it's just a crazy market right now.
What I'm seeing out here is the Airbnb game is so crazy
Well,
that,
Airbnb
like,
is jumping everywhere.
so what's happening out here in South Florida is regular people, it's just like have a home and they like, yo, I'll go stay in a hotel for a week. And that 1 week of somebody renting my house paid my mortgage.
But you want to know what's a common misconception?
What?
With the Airbnb game, people feel like, okay, to be in an Airbnb, it has to be in a luxury neighborhood, or it has to be at a beach. What people fail to realize is that I know certain owners that have Airbnbs in the hood, and they rent fast. Matter of fact, my mother has 3 Airbnbs right now. She just put up one last night and already has a 23-day rental.
That's what I'm saying, man. So imagine like out here, everything is near the beach. It don't matter which house you pick, you're gonna get there. So, but nah, we've been seeing the crazy. So what's happening with the condos though, is the condos is like, we ain't doing no short-term rentals. If you get caught, we slapping fines on it. It's crazy out here.
I'm telling you, you know, that's probably the one area that I would say that is not my favorite is condos.
Okay. And why is that?
People love the condo aspect, but they don't realize what comes with it, right? Just like when you buy certain, like in Florida, a lot of houses where you have neighborhoods, you gotta expect that you're gonna have certain fees that come along with the fact that you buying a house. And the fees is almost as expensive as your mortgage. Well, with a condo, it's the same thing. So I had a buyer that wanted to buy a $300,000 condo, right? But one of the things that she had to realize is that your mortgage, you're gonna have a $300,000 mortgage, but you didn't include the condo association fee, which is $800 a month.
That's it, man. I'll tell you what the problem I ran in. So when I was trying to buy a house, it was a house in Boca Raton. So in Florida, Boca is like the area, like that's where all the nice neighborhoods is, gated. The house they wanted 165,000, 4-bedroom house, 2-car garage. I'm just like, I'm looking at it. I'm like, hot tub, swimming pool. I'm like, oh my God, why is this on the
What's
market?
wrong with it?
Yeah, I'm like, is it a typo? So I'm like, well, why is this thing so cheap for so much? It's like 3,000 square feet, 2 stories, 4.5. I'm like, oh, this is something wrong with this house.
Something got to be up.
So I tell my realtor, I'm like, yo, man, I want to put an offer on this house in Boca. And she's like, did you like see the statement? I'm like, no, they say they want 165,000. Like, I'm approved for more than that. Like, I'm approved for 185. She's like, yeah, but did you see you got paid a $70,000 golf membership? Cat, you can't roll that into your mortgage. I'm like, so they really trying to keep black people out. We ain't paying no $70,000 for no golf.
But when it comes down to it, that's a lot of things that people don't see. Just like you got certain people that, like, well, because they're pre-approved,
right?
But their pre-approval is not for the amount. They basically got champagne taste on a beer budget, right? So with it being the case, you got these individuals that I had this one girl, she was pre-approved for 200,000.
She tried to max it out.
She was like, I need 5 bedrooms. I need this, that, and the other thing. And I'm like, okay, well, I mean, I really don't really want to be a woman to. Well, I don't know where else you think you're gonna go, because
that price for what you need, your checklist. What so what's the craziest story you ever had to, like, have you ever had to turn down a client? Like,
oh yeah.
they come to, like, tell me about that, like passing on somebody. 'Cause I tell people in business, like, you don't have to work with everybody. Like, that's the
You
beauty
don't.
of you being able to be your own boss, or be an entrepreneur. You can pick and choose who you want to work with.
Well, see, you know what's funny about that, and I'm gonna get to that story, but in that aspect, like I feel like, especially when people get into real estate, a lot of people ask, well, do you like working more with buyers or sellers? Right.
Right.
And it's a loaded question.
Right.
Honestly, if you really want to get down to meat and potatoes, like, it's a loaded question. I personally, if you're talking about from a business aspect, I would say sellers. And why? Because I don't have to invest as much time for profit, right? If I was talking about buyers, it's a completely different answer. Name one individual where you say, okay, well, tell me about your life. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Oh, I want to be married, have kids, buy a house. It's always in your top list. So you're helping somebody kind of develop a dream, right? But what I will say is that, to your point, certain buyers ain't for everybody. I've had, one of the things as a realtor you also have to do is, even though you're delivering a dream, you also want to have realistic expectations. So a lot of times, one of the reasons that a realtor will ask you, okay, so tell me what you're looking for in your next home. Give me your must-haves. Let's go ahead and this. And what they try to do is they try to paint a picture, so that way they know, okay, this person wants 3-bedroom, 2-bath. They have to have a garage. They don't care about the basement. But what you're trying to do is you're trying to come up with the perfect picture and the perfect number of houses to show somebody. And basically, you're saying that if I find this house that you told me everything you wanted, you're ready to put an offer on it today, right?
Correct.
So I would like to work with a buyer, and after I find the qualifications that you look for, if I deliver them, let's go ahead and put an offer in today, because that goes back to why, the time for profit, right? So, but with certain buyers, they like to window shop, okay? And with that being the case, you can give them everything that they ask for and more, and they'll be like, yeah, but you know what, this ain't the one.
Right.
Okay, well, I've been showing you for 3 months, and unfortunately, I don't think that you are ready to pull the trigger on the house.
So when do you cut the cord? Like, yo, after the 50th house, that's it? Or is it like, yo,
well, honestly,
I got 15 house minimum? Like, that's my max.
Well, I think I have to say, I try to base it on the person and their real, and whether or not they're realistic. One of the things that I tell everybody in the beginning when they work with me, and you know me for all my life, right? So one of the things that I say to everybody when I work with them is, I'm not here to sell you, right? I am here to find you what you want. But one of the things that you can always expect from me is I will always be 100% honest with you,
Right.
whether you want to hear it or not.
Right.
Because I feel like, as a good business person, you should want somebody that, regardless if it's something you want to hear or not, that person is going to tell you because they're looking in your best interest, right?
Of course.
So why I say it's situational is because if somebody can take that type of constructive criticism and realize that I'm not saying this for my benefit, if you can understand and you're realistic, I might be willing to stick in there with a little longer to help you.
Right.
Because I want to genuinely find you your perfect home.
Gotcha.
However, you have some individuals that I'm not here to argue with you. Like, I'm here to help you. One of the things that they have to realize is that as a realtor, realtors don't get paid until you get to the table. So all this stuff of us going to all these listings and all this other stuff, that's on my dime until you buy the house, right? So, and that's also when you trying to go and see houses 2 hours away. It's also when you want to look at 13 houses on a Saturday, I'm all for it because I genuinely want you to find the house. However, when it gets to a point where I truly know that you are only out here to look and not do anything, it's a waste of my time. And
Right.
it's a waste of your time. So it's like when it gets to a point where you can truly see that this is what you're doing, then you have to have that hard conversation where, you know what, unfortunately, I don't think that I'm necessarily the realtor for you. I know a couple of people that I can definitely recommend, but unfortunately, this ain't for you.
Right. It's funny, man. So like since I've bought this house, I haven't heard from my realtor. And I gave her a referral for my wife. She sold my wife's parents their house. But until I actually got in the real estate business, I never understood. Like I thought she was an all right realtor. I'm like, oh, she found me the house. She got me some appliances that I was looking for that, that she negotiated that I didn't have. So I'm like, oh, she a good realtor until I started getting into the real estate game myself. And I'm like, yo, she's a terrible realtor. She don't follow up. She don't say happy Christmas, Kwanzaa, whatever. And I'm just like, man, like that's such a referral based business that it's like, yo, if I sold you your house, yo, the best way you can reward me is, yo, give my information to some family and friends and let them know, like, if they looking.
Yeah,
I
because
haven't,
word of mouth is your most powerful marketing source. But what I will say is that, I was young and naive when I came into this real estate game too. And then, everything to me is a learning opportunity, right? So, like with that type of real estate, I can't say that, I've never sold a house to them and I still don't keep in contact with everybody because I'd be lying.
right,
But one of the things that I will say that I've learned throughout my career in real estate is how important something as small as happy birthday or Merry Christmas or hello, how you doing? Even if you don't refer me, right?
of
But the
course,
point of the matter is keeping in touch keeps you top of mind.
right,
So, it's like, hey, really quickly, I just wanted to say what's up, see how you doing. Because another thing that I find to be funny and now in today's society is that everybody wants something, right? So it's like you very rarely get somebody that just calls to check up on you for you.
right,
They, it's like, okay, oh, damn, this person's calling me, what they want, I don't want nothing.
right. And I think that's super important because like if I call you, like that's how I feel sometimes. I'm like, yo, I just feel like it's been too long since I talked to Luke. Let me hit him up. He
Yeah.
always hit me up, and I'll never hit him up first. So like I completely understand that. So I want to kind of switch gears. We really went on real estate, but I really wanted to give some people perspective because I know a lot of realtors follow me. So it's good to probably hear from somebody in a different market that the same things is going on and stuff that they probably can appreciate. So like we talked about the real estate stuff. We didn't talk about Luke yet. um, I mean, you wear so many hats. You got 3 bike helmets in the back. What do you do? What's your version of fun? Like, I know you family oriented now, so I know
I
a lot of
am.
your fun stuff is more surrounded with your kids. Like, right. So what's some one thing about you that people don't know?
Well, I feel like I'm an open book a lot of times if you follow me, but like when it comes, yes, I am family oriented. The kid, I get excited. I mean, I be at games and parents that don't know me by the end be like, man, I am not next to him no more. But um, the one thing is that people don't realize that how much music is a passion,
Mhm.
right? A lot of people do know me as Luke, and that's more so through music and a music game that honestly I came up with you in time to be completely transparent. But like people don't realize, like, man, I could turn my camera and I got my microphone right here, and um, like for example, I just did a cover the other day, a slow down. I just ain't put it out yet, and it's one of the reasons that I love it so much is because going back to the family oriented situation is that Devin the other day And for those of you that don't know, Devin is the youngest one, and he's probably the most outspoken as well.
The youngest and oldest. It's like an
Yeah.
old man trapped in that guy.
He said the other day, he was like, "Yeah, Dad, I'm going on America's Got Talent," and I was like, "For what?" He said, "Singing, evidently." I'm like,
Duh.
uh, okay, but I think that a lot of people don't understand how much you influence more than you even understand. And I I've been blessed with, having, the ability to sing and loving the fact that they want to be involved in music. That's the biggest thing. People don't understand the passion, even though I may not do it the way that I want to do it, or on the scale that I want to do it. But that's also because I have to make sure that my priorities are
So I'm gonna switch gears a little bit because how long you been married now?
8 years in November.
Okay. I'm sure some people that follow me don't understand the dynamic of marriage in situations. Like what's some advice you can give? Like I'm 2 years in, right? What's some advice you can give to me as
Community.
another married? Because it's like crazy. People don't have a lot of married friends, so it's like a very small community.
Well,
So like what?
it's funny. It's funny. My wife said the other day, she was like, "Oh, we're past the 7 year itch." I was like, "What that mean? Like, what's the 7 year itch?" She said that a lot of people by 7 years, you can kind of tell whether or not it's going to last longer or something that ain't going to work.
Mm,
I was like, oh, okay, well, you just taught me something because I didn't know. But the biggest thing that I would say is communication, like where it all boils down. And it's not like there's not a lot of other things that are not important, but communication is probably the most important thing ever. Like if I go out or I do something, and you got to think how much I work. Like I don't think that anybody truly understands that I grind a lot,
right,
right? And one of the things that I have to say thank you to her for is that she always holds home down, right?
right.
So if I'm out, showing houses, or if I'm out doing this, or even if I go to the studio at night, or let's say I fly down to Florida, whatever the case may be, she never complains. She never says, well, what time are you gonna be like? Never, because we always have that open line of communication. We keep it. Um, we just try to make sure that we're always on the same page. So I mean, shout out to her, but that's probably my number one
Poor
thing is
Ash
community.
is what I usually say. Poor Ash, but
I'd say
nah, shout
too, because I mean that when you have to deal with two boys that are just like you,
yeah,
like just like you, but just in different ways,
yeah. Nah,
crazy.
that's dope though. So like, what would you say is like one of the biggest misconceptions about like the real estate business though? Like somebody's just starting out, want to get involved in real estate. Whether it's wholesaling, investing, like what kind of advice would you give to somebody that's just new? It's like, yo, man, I found out that most people that's wealthy always start in real estate. Like what's some advice you would tell that person that don't even know where to start?
To stick with it.
Right.
And why I say that is because what people don't realize is that, like, let's use like the whole brokerage thing, for example, right? Some people feel like for you to be a successful realtor, that you gotta join a huge brokerage, like you gotta join Remax or Century 21 or you name it, Coldwell Banker. But I'm with Elam Properties, so it's my mother's brokerage who started it 20 some odd years ago.
Right.
And um, you are what makes the realtor. People feel like when they come into real estate, leads are just given.
Mm.
or people feel like, okay, well, I joined this team, so how come the phone's not ringing?
Right.
So why I say to stick with it is because just like anything else, you still have to build your catalog.
Of
You
course.
have to get your name out there. You may have to go to certain events. Like as a realtor, another thing that I would say is pick a team that works for you, because not every team will work for you. So it's like if you have somebody that's willing to coach you and willing to take you under their wing. So for example, if I'm selling a house and one of the things that I tell when I'm selling somebody's house is that we're going to do an open house within the first 2 weeks of, blah, 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 blah. I usually typically like doing the first weekend. I might say, hey, you want to sit at the open house?
Right.
Because everybody that comes through that door is not necessarily going to be represented by a realtor. Or do you want a cold call? Are you on a certain type of CRM? Am I going to hand you these leads? Do you like, it's funny, one of the things that I had did that I tried to think of outside the box, but sometimes they used to do like those wedding conventions where they would go and you could, walk around tables, look at different
Yeah,
setup
yeah, yeah.
versus whatever.
Cake
So,
vendors and all of that stuff. Right.
right. So I booked a table there. And people was like, well, why are you booking a table at a wedding convention? Well, again, name those three things. What you want to do in 5 years: get married, have children, buy a house, right? So if you there and you look into weddings, not everybody has moved in together yet. So,
Mm.
or when they do look to it, it's like, hey, when you ready to buy that house, people fail to realize that I don't care where you are, it's all about building relationships.
That's dope. I never thought about that though. Like you probably was the only realtor and everybody else was party planners, cake utensils,
All the time.
photography. That's
I
dope.
mean, sometimes you guys think outside the box, but that's my point about, I'm not with Patterson Sports. I'm not with
Right,
Remax. You know what I mean? But it doesn't mean that I haven't been successful in real estate.
right. That's gonna be a tip. Like, yo, so shout out to all my marketers, because that's a marketing gym right there. Like, that's what I be trying to explain to business owners. Like, the reason I don't work with different type of businesses is because we don't use like no cookie cutter formula, right? So like if you're a window company, I want to learn everything I can do to get you leads for a window company. Like I don't want another window company, right? So like I try to, because strategically what worked for the taco truck guy or the plumber might not work for the window company. So um that's the advantage that we have being like a smaller marketing agency. So talk to me about like where you see yourself. Like what's some of your goals for the next, let's say 5 years, right? You already got a wife, you already got kids, you already got you already done had more than one house. What's the next 5 years look like for you?
Honestly, I want to keep climbing the corporate ladder. I want to continue to, honestly, you know what I really want to do? I want my name to be a household name for something other than sports, music, whatever the case may be. I want somebody, if they hear my name, they know that I make a difference, right?
Mm,
I want, like, so one of the things, like, I when we start talking about hold many hats, like, so I joined the Delaware Apartment Association. So I'm the treasurer for the Delaware Apartment Association. It came up to they were looking for specific people, so I represent Delaware for the National Apartment Association. I joined the safety committee at my job, so that way I could make sure that I was learning everything and my name was out there. I went around and met politicians because I wanted to make a difference for the community that I manage. But at the same time, what people fail to realize is I represented, my company for the Newcastle County Chamber of Commerce, the Newcastle County Board of Realtors, even though I'm already on the Newcastle County Board of Realtors with ELN Property. So what I want to do is I want to continue to grow and network and build wealth for myself and my children and my wife and just my family. But I want to make a difference. Who knows? One day I might even run for office in some type of capacity. But I feel like in order to do that, I just want to continue to grow and be a great man, because I have to lead by example, so that way my sons could do the same.
So what does success look like for you?
Health, wealth, and money, 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 right? So it's funny. You know how sometimes people are superstitious. So when I see 11:11 on a clock, I'll be like, oh, okay, health, wealth, money, 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 right?
Right.
So it's, you know, it's funny that one of the quotes that I've always lived by is, in order to succeed, your desire for success has to be greater than your fear of failure. And it's like one of the things. So right now, with working for the Gallman Group, I want to, I feel like I'm a great property manager, but I want more. So one of the reasons that I get involved in so many things is to stand out, right? Because I know that I can handle more, but the more that I take on, the more that my name speaks volumes. My name is everything that I have, and it means the world to me. So I try to do certain things to set myself apart from others. So like, for example, yeah, like last year, I was runner up for property manager of the year. Well, that wasn't good enough for me because I wasn't number one.
Of
So
course.
with that being the case, I was nominated again for 2021, right? So we'll see if I get it. If I don't, then I didn't do enough.
Right.
So I just feel like, you know, sometimes it's all about progression.
That's dope. I be trying to tell people all the time how important your name and your personal brand is. Keeping your face clean. This is a tax write-off for those people that don't know.
Hey, shout it out. I mean, mine's across, you know, shout out to
It's
God.
a tax write-off, right? So like I'm very anybody that know me, I funny me. I'll show my wife a picture of me and you the other day, and you had a suit on. I had on like this turtleneck, but I told my wife, I've always had a chain since I don't know why. It's been my thing, right? So like, but the older I got, you know, my beat to the dot piece was obnoxious. This a little more dainty, a little more reserved. It's cool, but it's a tax write off, right? Like
It is. But you
I
know
want
what? It gets people to look at it.
every time when I went to Kanye and Jay-Z's concert and had that conversation with Hove, had I not had a chain on, he probably wouldn't have noticed me, right? So it's those little things that um just the outside the box thinking, like you said. So we're gonna wrap it up. I want you to give everybody your social media, where they can follow you, how do they get in touch with you, for everything.
Well, in regards to getting in touch with me, you can always email me at ed@elmproperties.net. As regards to social media, it's just Ed Lucus. I kind of keep it very general so that way people can always find me. Now, don't get me wrong, I am E Luke or Mr. E Luke on certain things too. So you can either find me at Mr. E Luke or, you know, E Luke.
Have my editors put your Instagram somewhere
Yeah,
on the bottom.
and you can type Edwin Lucas into YouTube, and that way you can even see me sing. You know, so I'm
Oh,
business and entertainment,
and notice how he
and
spelled
still
Lucas.
security.
And notice how he spelled Lucas.
Lucus. That is the biggest mistake anybody has ever made in my family. Everybody spells my name wrong, but Lucus.
Here you go, man. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for
Um, I'm
having
gl-
me, man.
I'm glad we got to do this.
And I
This ain't
want to
gonna be the
say,
first one.
but you gotta let me say something. I want to tell you how proud I am, and people don't realize how long we have been with each other. And it's very rare that you can say that you've been with somebody for 36 years of your life and you're 36 years old. And I'm truly proud of you. You moved out of Delaware, went down to Florida, made it your own. And you're one person that I never have to worry about because I know that you're always going to be okay. But any way you look at it,
Appreciate
I'll
it.
always be there for you. So I love you, man. And to much success, bro.
So I appreciate it, man. Everybody, please follow the Everyday Game Changers. We're gonna be continuing having these conversations of people who are just changing the game every day, business, entrepreneurship, community, everything. So stay tuned, and we'll see you on the next episode.